Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to another F1 Fantasy Weekly show, and in this episode we are previewing the Mexican Grand Prix, the home Grand Prix of Mexican driver Sergio Perez, Checo Perez. Will he be a great fantasy pick today?
Yeah, should win the race. Pole position. Easy.
Okay, Stephen started off bold. Yes, Stephen...
bold free picks, mate. No, wrong episode.
Wrong preview. Wrong preview. But yes, so what we are going to do in this one, we will give a rundown of what F1 Fantasy the game actually is. We will give our thoughts on who will be good drivers to pick, who will be drivers to avoid, as well as giving our turbo picks. And for this week, the Kimmy moment of the week, that is usually the way to round off an F1 Fantasy Weekly show, is cancelled.
It's over.
Well, it'll probably be back, but we are filming this literally straight after doing the F1 Fantasy review of the...
Whoa, don't reveal the magic of the holiday.
Basically, I'm on holiday, and we need to film this before I go. So we've just gone back-to-back filming.
As you're listening to this, you'll probably be flying home?
No, I will be home.
Oh.
So...
But you'll probably be...
But we wouldn't have had time... Yeah, jet lag. And also, you would be at work unless you take the day off.
Yes.
So that is the issue of why we can't record. Anyway, guys, we'll get into the F1 Fantasy Weekly podcast. So F1 Fantasy, it is like any classic fantasy sports game. You have some sort of budget to pick your players to kind of score points for you every week, and if you score more points than your team, than your friends, or against the global league, you get bragging rights. Or if you are in first in the world or in the top 10, then you get cool prizes from Formula One themselves, which include race tickets for the 2020 season, which is, quite cool. But yeah, within your budget, you have 100 million budget to pick 5 drivers and 1 constructors. If you aren't playing already, why not? It's a great game that kind of adds a little bit of extra spice to race weekend, and if you weren't already, because the midfield battle has been great this year, it just gives you a little bit of extra interest in it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so we will now jump into our preview of this week's Mexican Grand Prix, and strong picks to go this weekend. For me, it is Ferrari.
Yeah, it's going to be all about speed. Well, they showed they had it in qualifying in Suzuka. So you'd imagine it was only because of Leclerc's mistake that they kind of lost all the power up front. Mercedes could play around.
And obviously Vettel's jump start.
Exactly. He was always struggling. They weren't... I think they were matching pace. They weren't going actually particularly quicker than the Mercedes, it must be said. And the Mercedes had their upgraded aero package. So,
but there's far more corners in Suzuka than there is in the Mexican GP.
You have the massive
straight at the start.
Home straight. Pit stretch. Well, you have a couple of fast corners. I don't know.
The aero package is. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm weird. We are terrible at remembering corners or names of tracks. But yeah, there certainly is an aero package thing, and then obviously has the slow section through the grandstand at the end.
First sector, Ferrari going to have it, but surely second and third sector, Mercedes may have the edge.
They may do, but I think what we're basically saying is it's either between Ferrari and Mercedes. And for me, I think the perfect combo for this weekend is Bottas and Leclerc.
Yeah, you spread the risk.
I mean, if you could get... you wouldn't be able to. If you could get Hamilton and Vettel, then obviously that is probably the dream pick for this weekend. I reckon they'll probably be 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because obviously Mercedes have now won the constructors. They're not going to be so they may be a bit more risk. What's the word?
Development focused. Well, because they might start trialing some things for 2020.
Possibly. They may be less risk adverse. That's the one I want to say.
Yeah.
Because if it was honestly a strategy call in Suzuka bringing in Lewis, then that's quite risk management. They wanted to minimise the risk.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows?
Who knows? But I think, the way that they've shone out in front in terms of the big teams, Leclerc and Leclerc, Vettel, Hamilton and Bottas, they are your fantasy picks for this week.
Yeah, interestingly, because a few weeks ago we were probably saying Red Bull would come into its own at this latter stage of the season. But Suzuka, they were very disappointing in terms of pace. Well, I know Verstappen was out, but Albon was, nearly a minute behind?
He was nowhere near.
And you can say Verstappen is the quicker driver, but still Albon has shown he has pace in that car. You're not a minute behind because you're a slow driver, it's because the car difference. The
Honda power unit is just so far behind the Ferrari Mercedes engine.
The upgrades clearly haven't had the major impact as they would have hoped.
No.
So I don't think...
In fact, it may have just... I was going to say gone backwards, but it's probably stayed the same. But I haven't really known any Ferrari and Mercedes power unit upgrades.
No. Someone in the comments will probably say.
Yeah.
But obviously Mercedes had the aero package and Ferrari had the aero package in Singapore. They've both improved their pace.
Yeah, and Red Bull's always advantage was their aero package, and now it doesn't really seem to be excelling.
It's not stand out, yeah.
I know me and Mark spoke about in the race review for the Japanese Grand Prix that it's a little bit worrying for Red Bull because Adrian Newey is kind of pursuing more things outside of F1, and obviously he is the aero guru, so maybe he's got less focus and not on his A game in Formula 1 because he's got other interests now.
Maybe. Worrying signs. Hopefully they pick themselves up. I think the season's over. Hopefully they'll pick themselves up for 2020 again.
Yeah, I think we'd all like a three-way battle at the top.
But anyway, back on fantasy track.
Yeah, I think in terms of the midfield who are going to do well, I can't really see past any of the three that are almost in a mini league of themselves now, of Racing Point, McLaren and Renault, and within that, Sainz, Ricciardo and Perez.
Yeah. And Perez, home Grand Prix. Obviously, there's nothing to do. Well, he may feel better about it, but he could easily crash out in the first corner or whatnot. But it's his home Grand Prix, you just have that feeling. The Racing Points cars come along, he could do something.
Especially after last year, where obviously he had to retire from his home Grand Prix and that hit him hard.
Yeah.
He's going to desperately want to do well this year. And since the second half of the season, he's finished in the points in every single race, bar Singapore, where he retired from a mechanical issue.
And the Racing Point has that Mercedes power unit.
Exactly.
So it'll be strong. It should be strong.
It should be.
But ignoring the home Grand Prix factor, I think Sainz is probably the best pick. Just because he's shown he's the best of the rest.
Yeah, and obviously Alex Albon is still a very good pick because he's consistent finishing the top six.
Yeah.
And then you can bring in as a turbo. So
But just looking at Renault, McLaren and Racing Point, I think Sainz is probably the top man there.
Sainz is definitely the top man there.
Points.
And then Ricciardo and Perez, it will just be a flip of the coin of who does well in qualifying / race.
You think Perez should because it's a home Grand Prix.
Yeah, I was gonna put in an outside pick, probably Pierre Gasly, because he's been performing well,
consistent recently. But then it's the Honda power unit. Will it perform?
Especially on that, I just think they're really going to suffer on the straights.
It could be Toro Rosso may not get the points. It may be locked out by Renault, McLaren, and Racing Point.
Yeah,
Could definitely see that happening. But he has been driving well, so I think he is. Yeah, an outside pick.
So yeah, drivers and teams to avoid this week. Alpha, we said it basically in our last week's review. Basically, Williams, Haas and Alpha, they've got nothing really to play for in the season anymore. Their position of 10th, 9th and 8th is pretty much locked in.
Yeah.
So
there's not much money to be made anymore.
Exactly.
Focus on 2020.
It's only just driver pride of wanting to do well and looking to get performances. The only one, the Haas, is probably getting everything ready for the US Grand Prix to have a big home showing so they can impress sponsors there. Alpha have obviously had their big Grand Prix at Monza, so there isn't really anything for them. And obviously, Williams we know is Williams. So Daniel Kvyat's been a bit off the boil. His car hasn't been great. Didn't have a great weekend in Suzuka, so I'd steer clear of him, and I'd steer clear of Hulkenberg. We mentioned it in the review. He's pretty much topped with. He's used up his streaks now, so he's not going to be used there. I think I'd just take him out for that.
Lando Norris, though. I didn't realise he's still the cheapest driver in the game at 5.9 mil. He's quick, and this is a quick circuit.
And he probably would have finished in the points, bar having an issue with obviously Charles Leclerc's car stayed out, and debris from Leclerc's car got caught in his brake duct.
That was the one that says brakes on fire.
Yes, and his race was ruined. Although his collision with Albon wasn't great for it.
No.
It was.
He was still coming into the pits that lap.
Yeah, because damage from Charles Leclerc's car there. So Lando's probably still an outside pick to kind of bring in.
Yeah, because he's cheap.
It could easily be a. We keep saying it, but this might be the weekend that a McLaren finishes ahead of a Red Bull on merit. Obviously, in the second half of the season, post Pierre Gasly, where obviously they did it a couple of times, didn't they?
Yeah.
So that probably rounds up view there. A team is literally
Mercedes
flip a coin between Mercedes and Ferrari.
Cheaper option, Renault. Well,
cheaper
kind of
options,
said it.
Ferrari.
Renault, McLaren. A cheap option.
Okay.
It's either Renault, McLaren, or Racing Point. I'd go Renault, McLaren.
I'd go Renault because Renault seem to be getting. McLaren must be. No, they won't be, because do you have to have both drivers finish or just one driver?
I don't know.
Because obviously Lando finished outside and Renault again had two drivers finish
in the top 10. I'm feeling good about McLaren. I would go with McLaren. That's a cheap bet.
Alright, we'll go with McLaren.
I'm thinking the F1 debate show. It could finally pay off.
This weekend for McLaren. They will cash in and score good points. Yeah. Okay, so that probably moves us on nicely to who we'd pick turbo. And this is probably becoming a rather boring section because there are only 4 drivers really to kind of go between and only one really realistic driver with how things have developed this season and how cheap he is, and that is Alexander Albon.
Yeah, I keep not picking him, but maybe the week I do pick him, he's not going to do well. It's difficult because we just said the Red Bulls, you may not have a good race there. But he's been the best turbo since he joined Red Bull. So yeah, is Alex Albon your turbo pick this week?
Albon or Sainz? I'll see how I feel. You have to do it before qualifying, don't you? I'll see how it's looking in practice.
Yeah.
Before I make
In
my
terms of Red
final
Bull's
decision
pace.
on that.
If Red Bull are looking good in pace, Albon surely has to be
Yeah.
your turbo pick.
In terms of the outside bets that aren't really outside bets, but I suppose they are compared with how strong Sainz and Albon have been going, would be for me Ricciardo and Perez. And do we have streaks up? Can we figure that out?
No, I was meant to, but I haven't. After Mexico, I'm going to get these
Or
streaks.
should we just go a new feature for F1 Fantasy Weekly in 2020?
2020.
We will do the streaks.
We're going to troll it, run. Like Mercedes are going to troll stuff. We're going to troll stuff for 2020.
We're going to trial stuff for 2020 and see how it works.
My development's already in 2020. I've given up on this season.
Oh, God. But yeah, that is probably turbo hits. There isn't really anyone I can see doing well outside of those, apart from maybe Lando Norris.
Yeah, as a year, yeah.
But to beat Carlos,
unluckiness always puts me off.
His unluckiness always puts me off, and also Carlos Sainz's ability has been the only reason he hasn't really finished in the points this season is either one, mechanical failures, and two was that incident with Hulkenberg in Singapore.
Two other drivers.
Yeah. He has every race that he's finished incident free, he's been in the points.
Yep.
I'm convinced. I'm pretty sure I can say that with confidence. But yes, and yeah, like we said, Kimi moment of the week, that is cancelled. Streaks will be there after Mexico.
Yeah.
So ready for the US Grand Prix and ready for Haas to win.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe. Katie, we are going to recommend this week that you turbo Albon.
Kevin Magnussen. I think you misspoke there. Kevin Magnussen again.
Okay, Kevin Magnussen.
Yes, turbo Albon.
Best of luck to everyone in the league. Hope you go well. Dominic, hope you go well in terms of your charge in for the trying to regain your position in first place. And obviously, Tamako Playtech Super Life, I hope you don't do well this weekend so I can get closer to first place in the league.
Is he top 100?
I'm not sure. He was working his way into the top 100, so it'd be interesting to see. Yeah. He didn't have the greatest weekend. I mean, it's crazy, 197 we're saying isn't the greatest weekend, but compared to
some people,
I'm pretty sure all bar one since the summer break, I've had a score of 200 plus, and still only second.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, guys, that is it. Hope you've enjoyed the F1 Fantasy preview. If you have liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Stephen, what should we comment on below this time?
Oh, I'm struggling. No, wait. Lance Stroll, can he finish in the top 10? Can he get into Q3?
That is a good question, because obviously he has had two back-to-back performances in Q2.
Yeah.
So his natural next step is to get into Q3. He's getting a bit
like, what's this, Q2?
And he was 12th, so he was close to Q3.
Up to get top 10 now? What? I think he could get Q3.
Okay.
I'm backing Lance Stroll.
Okay, Lance Stroll's been backed.
But no, I'm sorry, I'm asking that question. I'm like, will he?
Sorry,
question mark?
Will he? Question mark to the floor. And let us know in the comments below, guys, who your turbo driver is, what your team is looking like this weekend.
Is Red Bull done for this season?
I think when I said I thought Ferrari were done after Monza, I'm going to say I think Red Bull were done.
Maybe they need the curse that makes their performances jump up.
I think Albon, surprisingly, well, he's winning in the head-to-head, isn't he, with Max Verstappen?
Yeah, lucky though. But
yeah, lucky, because obviously a lot of those have been Max incidents. But yeah,
Albon very strong. But yeah, are they done?
I think they are, so that'd be an interesting one to comment. But yeah, guys, if you are new around here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification, and you can keep up to date with all the latest content and watch more videos just like this one. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.